Good morning. We are going to learn the first halacha in Hilchos Parah Adumah today. The Rambam teaches us a very interesting halacha. First of all, it tells us the age of a parah. It should be 3-4 years old. However, it's kosher even if it's older. And then he says as follows: Ve'ein loikhin egla. We don't take a calf and raise it. You got to buy it as a parah. Loi matzu ela egla. Paiskin ala domin. You set a price. It remains by the owner till it becomes a parah. The tasa parah, it becomes a parah. Well, like kanais for German solution, and you buy the German solution. The Ravid has a whole discussion, and he doesn't understand it. I don't know where he gets this from. He says it's a problem, and this is called chata, so it has the same din, so that's why you can't do it. And so he says that's his take on this issue. Now, the makar of the Rambam, because the Mishnah points us to a Sifri Zuta, Parshas Chukas, Perokim Posuk Beis. It says V'yikchu Parah. So the Sifri says Shalayikchu Egla V'yagadla, and raise it. You shouldn't buy a calf and raise it. Amru. Then they tell us, Nice Shalakhu Parah Ubra Aduma Minagoy. They bought a pregnant Parah Adumah from the Goyim. Vahayu Mishamran Oisa Achoisi Aletis. They waited till she gave birth. Im Haya Velada Kosher Parah, to see if the child is kosher to be a parah. And then the lids are red, it's totally red. Then after it was born, and then they watched it till it became 3 years old. And then they bought it from Trumas Halisha. To fulfill what it says, now, we're going to talk about this halacha a little more shortly, when the story of the Sifri Zuta. That seems to be contradictory. On one hand, it starts off saying you shouldn't buy an egla. Then he says you can buy a parah ubra, a pregnant parah. They bought it, and then they rebought it. Okay, halacha zayin, the Rambam writes that all mumim absul mekotche, apostle and parah. However, parah has more than kosher. You're not allowed to have any oil come on it. However, if it's l'tzarcha, for the sake of the parah, it's kosher l'tzarcha, achapsul. If there was a malacha done with it, or an oil was put of it, if that was the will of the person who owns it, psul. Not let's say it's kosher. If a bird flew on top of it, he didn't want that. Because then he wants to have a child. And so in this case, Rambam Bas is clear that the Meberes is psula. Okay. But I want to just take note of a few things in the Rambam. He starts out saying, "Ain't like the Sifri." Let's start with the Sifri and everything else. So the Sifri says that you can't buy a parah now and raise it. Then it says a story that's just the opposite. You bought when it was pregnant, and then everybody asks. This is not my own question, but everybody asked, some of them. They ask, I understand. If you can't buy you can't buy an Uber. And then they waited, and then they raised it. Rambam comes here and writes, Loi matzu agla, right? So what do they do? Paiskin allowed domin, and stays by the owner. I'm always coming here. Business advice. Paiskin allowed domin. Why does he say this? Who needs it? So Chashogha wants to say that the Rambam is telling you shot in the Sifri. Because the Sifri says they bought it from the guy, the Uber, and then they paid from Tumas Halishcha. So once they bought it from the guy, means Psikas Domen. Which at least could be indicate that he stayed by the guy, he was just a Psikas Domen. First of all, it's hard to believe that that's shot. In the Yisham, in the Sifri, and it's hard to say that that's why the Rambam writes it. Explain the Sifri. Yeah. Now the Sifri has a very strange lush. Like you kept it and you bought it again from Trumas Halishcha. Lekaye mashenemar v'yikhu elecha Parah. Lekaye mashenemar. What the lush? Lekaye mashenemar is usually a lotion of agadata. It's not a halachic expression. We want to carry something out, some Indian. It's not Indian, it's halacha. Okay. The Minchas Chinuch, in Mitzvah Shin Sadik Zayin, says that the Rambam, and it says that this din of Ein Leichen Egla Megadon, even though it's not Torah, but he says it's only l'chatchila, but the evidence is not marked. Because Ram doesn't say it's possible. Like he writes so many of the dinim, he writes possible. Here he doesn't write possible. Now it's not so pashut. Taisus in Bab Metzia is mashma that it is possible. Okay, but as we learn shot there. So perhaps, in order to understand the Rambam, I want to introduce what this tshuva of the Sheila Meshiv, Madura Revi'ah, that's the fourth part, and Chelik Beis, Siman, the second Chelik of that, Siman Kuf Tzaddik Vav, that he comes out, he wants to bring a raya to the Rambam, and he goes through the story of Rabbi Dezora, where the Gemara talks about buying from a goy. And the Gemara tells the story of Dama ben Nesina that everybody knows, the famous story that they bought a Parah Adumah from him. In the schus of the kibbud av that he was had, that's why he was zeichet that the Parah Adumah was bought. And he asked the question: how did they know that it was? How did they watch it? How did they guard it in his possession? He was a great man. He was amongst the great Roman people. How did they know? How did they were able to guard it? So he says two Yisayis in the pasuk of Vayikhu Elech. One, obviously, that you need to buy it when it's apart, like the Rambam notes. And he asks, why couldn't the Parah agents invest and buy it from him, and then they will give it over to the tzibur when it's a Parah? And he mechadish an interesting point, that the mitzvah is that it should remain by the bailim ad shetigdal. That's part of the din of Vayikhu Elech. So nobody can buy it. Okay. So what does it mean? The pasuk teaches us Pashtus Vayikhu Elech. You got to buy a bar. What does it say? Who cares who had it before? So I would like to suggest, based on the Sifri, and that will explain to us the Minchas Chinuch, why this halacha is not ma'akiv, that the Lashon Sifri L'kayim Hashanema, which is the source of the Rambam, as the Kesef Mishnah said, indicates we're not dealing with a regular halacha. We're dealing with a L'kayim Hashanema halacha, which is you want to carry out the words of the pasuk. Not that on them. Without this, there's no Parah Adumah. And therefore, it's understood why it's not ma'akiv. It's not Peisel. Because it's only l'kayim Hashem. So, first of all, that'll answer also how you can explain the Shalom Eshav that way. That l'kayim Hashem is you should buy it. Nobody else should. This is all part of the l'kayim Hashem. Do it exactly as it says. So when the Rambam says Peiskin Adumah, what he's coming to tell you, not advice. He's not telling you business advice. That makes sense anyway, right? But you may think there's a chesaron in the L'kayim Hashanemar of Yikra Lecha when I'm placing Domim. So the Rambam says no. See, because Domim is not a disturbance to the halacha, to the kiyum of a Yikra Lecha. So therefore, the story of what happened in the Sifri is that they bought it from him. It's a steer. You're buying a child. You're buying an Uber, right? Okay, everybody else. The Rambam Shitta is that Uber Yerachimai. The Uber is not an entity on its own. So you're not buying anything. It's like Peiskin Adumah. It's like Peiskin. Even though you paid for it, it's Peiskin Adumah. When the Rambam says Ubi Yerachimai, so Achreinim so as you do the Keshailavut, right? That there's two ways to understand Ubi Yerachim. That the Uber is non-existence, but it comes out, then it becomes Yerachim. Then it gets all the dinei am. When it separates in the mother, then it gets all the dinei am. Because it's a product of that. No, or you say that when the Uber it does exist, but it exists as the mother. It's like a mother's limb, which is the little touch. And he brings proof that that's the Rambam Shitta. So when you buy a Parah Muberes, first of all, you're actually, you could say even more than what we say. We've always said you didn't buy an Uber. You didn't buy an Uber here, but you bought a Parah. You were behind the Parah. Why do you have to buy it again? Because the buying before was when it was it bought another Parah. You didn't buy this. You need to buy the Parah that's you need that's why you have to buy from Trumas Halishka a Parah to be mekayim the Parah buying, meaning the Parah that you're going to use and that you haven't bought, because you have to raise it still, and even though it doesn't disturb the original Kinyan, doesn't make it a Parah Adumah, you have to now buy it as a Parah Adumah. Now, why would there be such a l'kayim Hashem? Okay. Remember, Parah is chukah. This is the ultimate chukah, right? Zeis chukas hatayra. This is the chayk. And in a chayk, you take things literally. It's not ma'akiv because it's not a chiyuv. It doesn't say any chiyuv. But you want to fit what it says in the pasuk. Okay. Seid gesund und stark. Slocha Rabba.